The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act has collected a very bad reputation over the past 8 decades. Many economists and scholars consider it to be primarily responsible for deepening and prolonging the Great Depression. But one prominent economist is attempting to change that misconception. Ha-Joon Chang, an economics professor at Cambridge University, claims that temporary protectionism is necessary and beneficial in times of economic crisis. Protectionism can be used to buy time for an ailing economy to recover and get itself back on a path toward growth. Chang writes that unlike in finance, where things can be speedily rearranged, the real economy takes time to adjust, and it is during this time that protectionism should be used. Governments need time to readjust because new factories must be built and new technologies must be researched and developed. Workers must acquire new skills and sometimes find new jobs. When big adjustments are needed, temporary protectionism helps to create the breathing room for companies and their workers to reinvent themselves. According to Chang and a growing group of other scholars and experts, the threat that protectionist measures could spark a trade war is simply nonsense. It didn't happen in the 1930s, and it won't happen this time around. Conventional wisdom, school lessons, and college courses over the past several generations have ingrained the idea that trade restrictions imposed by the Smoot-Hawley tariffs ushered in an era of protectionist warfare. Nations around the world erected outrageous trade barriers and worsened the Depression. This image of a sort of economic trench warfare could not be further from the truth. First of all, the tariffs only made goods marginally more expensive. Smoot-Hawley raised industrial tariffs from 37 to 47 cents. A range which was fairly standard in the United States during previous decades. Second, while some nations did retaliate with tariffs of their own, it was hardly enough to drag down the entire world economy. The real culprit in the Depression was collapsing consumer demand, which in turn led to production slowdowns, layoffs, factory closings, severe drops in income, and finally, rampant currency deflation. Very similar to the situation right now in the United States. More and more people suddenly found themselves with less and less money, and that hurt the economy. And it started well before Smoot-Hawley and continued well after the act was repealed. Today, the idea of protectionist measures sparking a trade war and igniting a full-blown depression is more absurd than it was in the 1930s. According to Chang, with the amount of international trade organizations, regional free trade agreements, bilateral accords, and other regimes and institutions, the amount of protectionism is very limited, though there are some countries, like China and Japan, that still practice it as much as possible. We all know that a trade war is not going to help the economy recover. If anything, it will make things worse. But, according to Chang and others, the idea that every country will be brutally attacking everyone else is rather ridiculous. As he puts it, countries will cheat within the boundaries of their agreements, but they can only do so much. Chang proposes a period of adjustment protectionism, which would allow beleaguered economies like that of the United States to regain their footing. After that, we overhaul the entire international trade system and create one that is not so fervently pursuing free trade at all costs. We need one that allows protectionism in order to prevent the global economy from spiraling out of control once again. Free trade has never really existed in any form which could be called pure, and it has never really worked in the way that it's supposed to. Chang recommends that rather than trying to nurse this ailing sacred cow back to health, we simply slaughter it and concentrate our energy on designing a new system of international trade that pragmatically mixes free trade and protectionism. On behalf of concerned citizens, I'm Craig Harrington. For more on this and other related topics, please log on to economyincrisis.org.
Wake up, America! Open up your eyes! Wake up, America! Wake up!
Produced by economyincrisis.org.